Let's get ready for our yin yoga practice. First, I'd like to take a minute to show you some of the props that I like to have handy. Most important for me personally is to always have a canvas strap. I like to also utilize a couple different sizes of yoga blocks, a couple different sizes of pillows, and at least one bolster, if not a couple of bolsters. The supports are used to allow maximum relaxation in a restorative practice, and also the blocks can be utilized to essentially bring the floor up closer to yourself. We're going to start in Savasana, corpse pose, setting our intentions for this practice. Lying on your back, close your eyes, focus on what you want to bring into your life and what you are needing to let go of in order to create the space to allow that change and shift to occur. Relax into Savasana while setting those intentions. Deep breaths. And continue to remain in Savasana while allowing yourself to let go of all of your worries and all of your concerns. Let go of your stress from the day, the week, the month, the entire year. Give yourself permission to be stress-free. Slowly rotate your head and neck to the right, looking out over your right shoulder. Deep breath, and then back to neutral. Then to the left side for another deep breath, and then back to neutral. Stretching out long, you can reach your hands overhead, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles, maybe twisting your wrists. And then you're going to hug in your right knee, engage the foot, flex your heel, rotate your ankle, point your toes. Continue hugging that knee, paying close attention to the micro movements and the compression in your right hip socket. Breathe into it. Then you can reach for your strap, get the canvas to go across the ball of your right foot before then straightening out your leg. You can keep softness in the knee, bending it slightly if you wish. It's always better than hyperextending it. And then you can pull your leg slightly closer to your chest before then swinging the leg out to the right side while continuing to hold the strap for the half straddle. Hold there for a couple of deep breaths. Then release and set your strap aside while lowering your right leg back down to the mat. Hands overhead, stretching out long again, pointing the toes, maybe rotating those wrists and ankles before then hugging in your left knee. Again, you can engage the foot and ankle by flexing and pointing your toes. Continue hugging in your left knee tightly. And again, pay attention to the micro movements, focusing on the compression in your hip socket. And then pick up your strap again, place the canvas across the ball of your left foot. You can straighten out that left leg, holding it there. You can keep that slight bend in the knee if you wish. Then you might pull the leg just a little closer to your chest before then swinging the left leg out to your left side, still holding the foot with the strap for the half straddle on the other side. This is a big stretch. Really just breathe into it. And then set your strap aside while lowering that leg back down to the mat. Both legs out straight, stretching out long, arms overhead. And then hug both knees tightly. You can try to touch your forehead to your knees if you'd like. Continue holding your right knee while lowering your left leg back down to the mat. We're going to hold here for several breaths. And then place that right knee onto the floor or bolster across your body on the left side for the supine twist to the left. Arms are in a T. Keep your drishti out over your right fingertips. You have an option to use your left hand to apply a light pressure to your right knee if you wish. Enjoy this stretch, focusing on the release in the small of your back. And then slowly turn your head to look over the opposite shoulder, over your right shoulder for 2 full breaths. And then slowly turn the head and neck back to neutral. And then I got that mixed up, and then back over your right, gazing over your right fingertips. And then the head back to neutral. Lower the right leg back down to the floor. Hug in both of your knees together. Head and neck towards the knees, rocking and rolling. And then lower your right leg back down to the floor while continuing to hug in your left knee. Hold it there for several breaths. move the left knee across your body to place it on the floor or bolster on your right side for the supine twist on the other side. Arms are in the T, and enjoy this release while keeping your gaze out over your left fingertips. And with your right hand, you can apply a light pressure to the left knee if you wish. Relax into this twist. Then slowly turn your head to the right, looking over your right shoulder for a couple of breaths. Then back to neutral. And then back to be looking over your left shoulder. And then back to neutral, and lowering that left leg back down to the mat. While coming out of this twist, you can stretch your arms out long overhead. And then hug both of your knees once again, stretching your neck, rotating both ankles, engaging the feet, flexing the heels, pointing your toes. And now we're going to get into the reclined butterfly. You might want to utilize props under your knees or thighs. Arms are down by your sides, palms facing upward. Just surrender to your practice. Then you can glide your arms across the floor out to your sides, arching them overhead in a half moon to steeple grip. Holding it there momentarily. And then gliding your arms back down to your sides like butterfly wings. Hands or palms are facing up. And then slowly stretching your arms out wide to your sides again. And then bringing them back overhead into that half moon, touching the fingertips to each other in steeple grip or prayer hands. While remaining in the reclined butterfly pose, you can remove any props you might be using before getting into reclined tree pose. First, we'll straighten out the left leg while placing the sole of your right foot high against the inseam of your left thigh, as high as you can. Hands are still overhead in prayer hands or steeple grip, yogi's choice. You can branch your arms out if you'd like. Holding here for several breaths. Then you can simply switch sides by first straightening out your right leg and then placing the sole of your left foot high to the inseam of your right thigh. Arms can still be in prayer hands overhead or branching them out, goalpost, steeple grip, however you're most comfortable. Then reach for your strap, get the canvas to go across the balls of both feet for legs up the wall. Knees can be straightened or bent slightly. You can walk it out, pedaling your knees. You can rock, you can wiggle. anything you wish. And then continue to keep your left foot in the strap, keeping the canvas on the ball of your foot while you remove the right foot and place that ankle across your left thigh for reclined pigeon. Holding that there, you can bend your left knee slightly, or you can keep it straightened, or a little bit of each, straightening and bending. Then we're going to switch out the feet, first getting your right foot back into that strap, then removing your left foot and placing that foot across your right thigh for the reclining pigeon on the other side. Enjoy the stretch. And again, you have the option to bend your knee slightly, straighten it, or some of both. Then we're going to lay flat for 3 honey bumblebee breaths. You can set your strap off to the side, placing your 3 fingers on top of your closed eyelids. Your thumbs can press down on your ear cartilage, closing off the airway to your ears. Breathing in through your nose and out through the nose. We're going to hum low pitch 3 times on the exhale. After that, get ready to turn yourself over. Slowly, you can turn to your left or to your right, and then carefully turn yourself all the way over to lay prone on your front side. You can rest your forehead on your hands, laying them on top of each other. Take several breaths while you prepare for another twist. Coming up onto your elbows and forearms into the Sphinx. Hike your right knee out to your right side with your right arm out in front of yourself. With your left arm, you can thread the needle, making any adjustments for this pose that you need to as you get into the spine twist once again. And you might want to use a bolster or a prop to support your knee again. You can straighten out both of your arms, trying to lay your shoulders flat on the floor, arms in a T. At any point, you can use your left hand to apply a slight pressure to your right knee, keeping your gaze out over your right shoulder, looking out towards your right fingertips. Notice if you feel any difference from the last supine twist, having gotten into this pose from an entirely different sequence of prompts and directives. When you're ready to come out of this twist, you can rest your forehead back on the tops of your hands, laying them on top of one another again. Then bending your knees, lifting your feet into the air, windshield wiper the feet and calves back and forth. Then slow it down before you lower your feet back down to the mat. And then back up onto your forearms again, your elbows and hands into the Sphinx. Then hike your left knee up to the left side with your left arm out in front of yourself. Thread your right arm through the needle, shifting into that supine twist once again. Same as the other side. You can adjust yourself so that both shoulders and arms are flat on the ground in a T. And again, you have an option to apply light pressure with the right hand onto your left knee, keeping your drishti out over your left shoulder and fingertips. Relax into this twist again. Again, taking notice of similarities and differences from the first supine twist, and even just from the other side. When you're done, you can unwind and then rest your forehead on your hands, again stacking them on top of one another. And this time, in an exaggerated motion, really windshield wiper the feet and hands back and forth, loosening out your hips as well. Then lower your feet back down to the ground and send your hips back towards your feet, getting into a wide knee child's pose. You can use a block or a bolster or a pillow to rest your head or your torso on. We're going to hold that position, really relaxing your torso, just ragdolling the upper portion of your body, allowing gravity to do the work for you. Really lean into it. And when you're done, you can remove the prop if you have one, and then coming up into a tabletop shape, before then lowering yourself back down into the Sphinx on your elbows and forearms again, this time spreading your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can, holding the Sphinx pose tall, before then turning your right forearm to be parallel with the top of the mat, reaching back for your left foot with your left hand. Hold that half bow pose for several breaths. can take a minute here to attempt the full bow, getting each of your feet into each of your hands. This can be pretty challenging. You might want to use the strap so that you can get each of your feet into either of your hands, or if you have someone nearby who can assist you. However it is that you need to do it, if you're able to get into the full bow shape. If it's too much, just do whatever modification you're comfortable with, knowing that your level of flexibility varies from day to day. You can use your breath and diaphragm to rock yourself slightly, or you can remain still, or some of each. Then let go of your feet and rest your head on your hands again on top of each other once more. Windshield wipering your feet back and forth, really loosening out the hips again too. Before you then slow it down, lower your feet back down to the mat, and then the same thing on the other side, coming back up into Sphinx, stretching your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can, sitting up tall, before then turning that left forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat, reaching back for your right foot with your right hand. Engage that half bow for several breaths. And then just like on the other side, you can attempt the full bow if it's in your practice, using your strap, having someone assist you, whatever it is you need to do to support yourself in this challenge of full bow. And again, you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock yourself back and forth slightly, or remaining still, or any modification if it's not in your practice to do the full bow. And then letting go of your feet, lower them back down to the mat. And again, send the hips back to sit on your feet into child's pose. This time in a regular child's pose, knees touching. While sitting on your feet, you can rest your head on a block if you'd like. We're going to be here for a prolonged period. Take several breaths before then walking or sliding your hands and fingers to the right edge of the mat, reaching for the upper right corner of your mat, feeling that stretch across your lower left ribs. And then hands and fingers back to neutral, sliding or walking your hands and fingers to the left edge of the mat, reaching for the upper left corner, focusing on the extension in your lower right ribs, and holding that for several breaths. Before then gliding or walking your hands and fingers back to neutral, really lean into the child's pose. And then slowly you can push your torso up, pressing your hands onto the mat, coming all the way up into hero's pose. You can pause here. You might want to have a block under your bum. You can place your hands on your thighs. Remaining still, take notice of the challenges of this seemingly easy pose. Then you can get your hands into prayer hands over heart, slowly rising your prayer hands overhead, and then lowering them back down, placing your hands back onto your thighs, before then coming up onto your knees into a widened stance, opening your arms out wide like butterfly wings. You can reach up and out, then clasping your hands behind yourself, getting your hands and fingers into a bind. You can explore the limits of your flexibility, pushing your arms up slightly behind yourself while leaning back slightly. You might want to bend forward with your forehead on the floor, lowering your arms towards the floor overhead. And then coming back up carefully, shaking out your hands and arms as you unclasp. Before then stretching your arms up and out wide again. We're going to get into camel pose, and you might want to use a bolster. I like to put a bolster on the backs of my ankles for this. And getting into camel pose, leaning back, I get my hands onto that bolster. If you're very flexible, you can probably reach your ankles, or you can use bolsters here, or you can do any modification that works. Arching your torso, just exploring this chest opener. And then as you come out of this shape, coming back up, you can sit back onto your feet into the hero's pose once again, laying your hands lightly on your thighs, focusing on your breath. And then when you're ready, swing your legs around out in front of yourself for staff pose. You can stack up pillows and props on top of your legs so that you can ragdoll your upper body over your legs, resting your torso on the props. Alternatively, you can use the strap on the balls of your feet for the same type of effect here. We're going to relax into this for an extended period. Really lean into it. Envision tilting your hips towards your feet, towards your toes. Again, allow gravity to do the work for you. Focus on easing your weight forward, trusting the gravitational pull to completely support you. Breathe into it. can remove the props and set them aside. Getting your left leg stretched out long, bring the right foot up high to the inseam of your left thigh. Reaching for your left toes in a side bend. Breathing into the stretch. Focus on relaxing into it. Don't fight the gravity. Then you can come up to neutral and you can get into a wide straddle stretch. Leaning forward for a couple of deep, intentional breaths. If you want, you can use the blocks. And slowly transitioning, switch it out to the other side. Place your left foot to the inner right thigh. Reaching for those right toes in a side bend. Your left hand over the right hand of the foot. Focusing on your breath, and again, trusting gravity to do its magic, supporting you and keeping you safe. And then come back up to neutral, stretching both legs out wide for the straddle stretch again. Leaning forward, you can reach out in front of yourself, maybe resting your forearms and forehead on a couple of blocks stacked. You can rest your forehead on one of those blocks. If you are doing that, allow the weight of your head to be fully supported by the blocks. And then as you can come up, you can get yourself into a seated butterfly, holding the soles of your feet together with both hands, allowing your knees to go towards the floor, sitting up tall, then mindfully bending your head and neck towards your feet before slowly rising your head up to neutral, imagining a string above your head, pulling it straight up into a perfect posture, and then twisting your head from side to side, first to the right, then back to neutral, then to the left, and then back to neutral. And now you can stretch your neck down, rolling it out. You can do small movements at first. You can turn your head side to side like you're indicating a no. You can stretch your neck diagonally, bending one side and then the other side. If you want, you can move your head up and down as if you're acknowledging a yes. And if it's in your practice, you can do a full circle rotation in one direction, and then a full circle rotation in the other direction. And then bringing your head back to neutral before shifting into easy pose, touching down to the ground with your left fingertips. You can drop your right ear to your right shoulder. You have an option to use a light pressure with your right hand on the top of your head. If you want, you can move the head slightly back and forth to give yourself a nice gentle massage of your neck muscles. And then you can get your head and neck back to neutral, reaching your right fingers towards the ground while dropping your left ear to your left shoulder. And again, with that light pressure of your left fingertips on top of your skull if you wish. And moving the head and neck slightly back and forth. And then back to neutral. Again, turn your head slowly from side to side, gently to the right. And then back to neutral. Slowly to the left. And back to neutral. Now we're going to bring ourselves back into the wide straddle again, leaning forward. You probably want to use blocks in front of yourself here to rest your forehead on again. We're going to remain in this stretch for an extended period. Focusing on your breath, filling up your lungs, and deflating them. Refilling them again. Appreciate the oxygenation of your blood. Feeling the oxygen traveling into your bloodstream to reach all of your muscles as you relax into the stretch. And then you can pick up a block into each of your hands, reaching over your left foot. You can place each of the blocks on either side of your foot and rest your hands on the blocks or reaching for your toes, allowing gravity to assist you in your efforts, making the side stretch feel almost effortless. Then pick up the blocks, place them out in front of yourself again, leaning forward momentarily before then picking them back up again and placing them on either side of your right foot. Again, you can reach for your toes or you can rest the palms of your hands on the blocks. Breathe deep and allow gravity to work its magic. Let go of all of your stress. Then come back to neutral, set the blocks aside, and our next pose will be bending our right knee over our left leg extended out straight, twisting to the right, gazing to the back of the room. Your right hand or fist is on the floor behind yourself. Arm is supporting your torso. Using your left elbow to leverage on the right knee. Rest your drishti back as far as you can. And then slowly turn your gaze and your head and neck to the front of the room. And then slowly returning your head and neck and your gaze to the back of the room. All while continuing to leverage the left elbow on the right knee. Continuing to hold for several breaths. Then coming out of this twist, simply switch sides, bending the left knee over the right leg extending out straight. Left hand or fist is on the floor behind yourself, gazing out over your left shoulder towards the back of the room, leveraging your right arm against the left knee. And then after a minute, slowly turn your head and gaze over the right shoulder to be looking towards the front of the room. And then slowly returning your drishti in your head and neck to be looking towards the back of the room over your left shoulder again. Continuing leveraging the right elbow on the left knee. And then back to neutral. Coming out of this, you can hold the soles of your feet together again, getting into the butterfly pose once more. Pressing those knees towards the floor, sitting up tall, and then slowly and carefully bending your head and neck towards your feet. Before then again imagining a string being pulled from above, from the top of your head. Then you come back up with perfect posture, gently turning your head first to the right, slowly back to neutral, then carefully to the left, and then back to neutral. Now we're going to get our legs into cow face and then Lord of the Fish. First, we're going to bend the right knee over the left knee that's also bent, stacking them on top of one another for cow face. Holding each of your feet into each of your hands. If you want, you can use your thumbs to press into the arches of your feet for a nice little foot massage. While sitting up tall. And then we're going to turn all the way to the right. Right arm is extended behind yourself. Left elbow leverages against the right knee. Looking out towards the back of the room. Appreciate the power of this twist. Slowly turning your head to be looking out over your left shoulder. And then carefully back again to be looking out over your right shoulder once more. And then back to neutral. Now you can straighten out both legs in front of yourself for the staff pose. Reaching your arms out wide to the sides. Arching them overhead in half moon towards the sky. You can interlace your fingers, binding your hands, turning them outward, reaching up as tall as you can. Before then bending forward, slowly reaching for your toes, noticing any tightness in your back, loosening, before slowly coming back up into neutral, and And now preparing to switch legs for cow face on the other side. Your left knee stacks on top of your right bent knee. Again, holding your feet with each of your hands and massaging the thumbs into the arches of each foot if you like. And then we're going to twist all the way to the left. Right arm leveraging against the left knee. Looking out over your left shoulder to the back of the room. Slowly turning your head and neck to be gazing towards the front of the room over your right shoulder. Then slowly turning your head and neck to be gazing back over your left shoulder towards the back of the room once again. And then head and neck back to neutral. Coming out of this twist, you can return to the staff pose. Reaching the arms out wide, again, legs out in front of yourself. Making that half moon arch, touching your hands overhead into steeple grip. Reaching tall. Before then leaning forward to hold your toes. Notice if you have any more or less tension in your back than you did just a minute ago when doing the same stretch. And then as you come up to neutral, transition into easy pose. Reaching your arms out wide to the sides. And then up for that half moon arch. Touch your hands together briefly for prayer hands before getting into cactus arms. And then eagle arms. With your right elbow over the left elbow, hands together. You can push your elbows up slightly, bending your head and neck down slightly. You have an option here to stay in this nice subtle pose the way you are. Or if you'd like a little movement, you can slowly look up as high as you can, leaning your head back slightly while pushing those eagle arms towards the sky. If you do, your arms will unpretzel as you're reaching up, and then you can reach them back out wide, touching the hands down to the ground, or if you're just coming out of eagle arms, touching down to the ground, before then arching the arms up overhead into another half moon, touching the hands together briefly overhead for prayer hands, then back to cactus, and again eagle arms with the left elbow over the right elbow this time. Pushing those elbows up slightly, bending the head and neck down slightly. And again, you have an option to just hold this nice subtle stretch. Or if you would like, you can slowly looking up as high as possible, leaning your head back slightly, pushing your arms and elbows up, unpretzeling, and again stretching those arms out wide to the sides, or just unpretzeling the arms, stretching them back out wide to the sides before then touching the earth and then reaching back up and out wide, bringing them overhead in another half moon arch to steeple grip, sitting tall. then you can do a simple twist on each side, lowering your arms down with your right hand behind you, your left hand on your right knee. Then reaching your right arm up high to cross over the left arm. Reaching the left knee with the right hand, the left hand onto the floor behind you. Before then raising your left arm up high, reaching over your right arm to hold your right knee. Before then coming back to neutral. Hug your knees in lightly in this basket shape. And here you have an opportunity to get into the boat pose. I like to hold my hands under my legs first for a modified boat pose, before then holding the arms parallel to the ground in a more traditional boat pose. You might want to scissor your legs and feet for a moment to get an additional benefit for your core strength. And then you can lay down on your back, stretching out long. Before then planting both feet onto the floor, knees bent. You might want to hold a block or a pillow in between your knees and possibly another one on each side of yourself. Allow your knees to simply fall to the right. Arms are in a T. Focusing your gaze out over your left fingertips. And slowly rotate your head to look the other direction, to your right, over your right fingertips. Then slowly rotate your head and neck to be looking back over your left shoulder. And then head and neck back to neutral. Bring your knees to neutral. Then allow your knees to simply fall to the left with your arms still in a T. Gazing out over your right fingertips. Slowly turn your head to look over your left shoulder, settling your gaze over your left fingertips. Then slowly returning your head and neck to be looking back over your right shoulder. Then back to neutral. Knees back to neutral. Remove any props. Then hug in both knees, bending your head and neck towards knees, engaging your feet, flexing your heels, pointing your toes, rotating the ankles. And then plant both feet firmly on the mat again. Arms are still in a T. Kick your right leg straight up high, crossing your right knee over your left knee. And then allow your leg legs to simply fall to your right. Arms are still in the T, gazing out over your left fingertips. Hold here for several breaths. This is my most favorite of all the twists. Breathe into it. Then you can uncross your knees as you bring them back to neutral, hugging the knees to the chest, rocking and rolling, before firmly planting both feet back onto the mat again for the other side. Kicking your left leg up high to cross it over your right knee. Allow the legs to fall to the left with your arms in a T, keeping your gaze out over your right fingertips. Enjoy this final stretch. Then release your knees back to neutral, hugging in both knees one more time, rocking and rolling. And then if you would like to, if it's in your practice, you have an option here for the happy baby. You can rock the baby, maybe alternating, straightening and slightly bending each knee, one at a time. And as you come out of that shape, you can lay flat. And then reaching for a block for supported bridge, plant both feet firmly on the mat, lifting the hips, sliding a block under the small of your back on its lowest level. Relax into your supported bridge. Then while still on the block, you can reach for your strap, or you can do this without the strap. If you're using the strap, get the canvas across the balls of both feet. We're going to get into legs up the wall again for another minute. And here you can walk it out. You can pedal your legs, slightly bending and straightening one and then the other. When you're done, you can set the strap to the side, remove the block. If it's in your practice, you have an option here for a shoulder stand and the plow. You can take a minute or two to do these, or yogi's choice, any stretching that you would like to do. Or feel free to get into Savasana early and we'll meet you there. Should you be in a shoulder stand, you might want to point your toes tall. You might want to bend one knee at a time or scissor your legs long. Any movement that you're inclined to do before transitioning into the plow. And then when you're We're coming out of the plow, slow and controlled with your chin tucked. Try to roll down one vertebrae at a time onto the mat to relax into the Savasana. Remember the intentions that you set at the beginning of this practice. And thank yourself for taking the time out of your day to focus on you and your well-being. Slowly, you can bring your awareness back into the room, back into your body. You can roll to one side or the other. Just relax on your side for a moment. You also have an option here to just slightly with your chin tucked, coming up onto both of your elbows, rocking yourself lightly, straightening your arms out behind you, transitioning into easy pose. Or if you're on your side, you can slowly push yourself up. We'll meet you in the easy pose. Then place your left hand on your right knee, right hand onto the floor behind yourself, lightly twisting to the right. Lifting your right arm straight up high overhead, crossing the right arm over the left, right hand onto the left knee, arms crossed, then reaching your left hand behind you for a light twist. And then crossing the left arm over the right arm, lightly hugging yourself in this basket shape. And then hug yourself in as tightly as you can, making yourself into as small of a ball or a seedling as you're able to, constricting your entire body to take up as little space as possible. Before then releasing and stretching your arms out wide to the sides into a star shape, and placing each hand onto each of your knees, touching the pointer fingers to the thumbs, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. We're going to chant Om 3 times in a low pitch on the exhale. And Stretching the arms out wide again for the half moon arch. Bring the arms up overhead into prayer hands. And then to acknowledge your insight and wisdom, touch your thumbs or your knuckles lightly to your third eye on the way to hands over heart. Before then reaching the arms out wide once more for one last half moon arch. Prayer hands overhead. Slowly lowering your prayer hands to hands over heart. Before then bowing to close and seal this practice. And so it is. Thank you for practicing with me today. Be well and enjoy a very blessed rest of your day.
Thanks for practicing yoga with me.